Hi everyone, and welcome to the second part of the Taroscope for 2022 for all signs of the zodiac. In this recording, we're taking a look at the last 6 signs of the zodiac, so from Libra to Pisces. So if your sun sign is the first 6 signs of the zodiac, so from Aries to Virgo, I'll link below the description of this video with the first part, specially dedicated for you guys. But if your sun sign is among the last 6 signs of the zodiac, so from Libra to Pisces, just stay tuned. And of course, check the timestamps in the comments below and also in the description, so you can jump straight away to your sign. With this being said, thank you once again for being here, for listening, and let's continue and take a look at how the year 2022 can potentially play out for you and your sign. Hello natives born under the sign of Libra, and thank you so much for being here and for listening. The cards that reflect how the year 2022 is potentially going to play out for you guys are the Eight of Pentacles, the Ace of Cups, the Ace of Wands reversed, and the Sun card. Well, this is such a really positive and uplifting combination, even though this doesn't say it's gonna be easy. But fortunately, it's neither going to be that hard, especially from an emotional perspective. And this can have so very many astrological reasons for it. For example, in the first part of 2022, around April, if I'm not mistaken, your governing planet Venus is in exaltation, 27 degrees of Pisces, and there she meets Jupiter and Neptune. So that is, in any way you look at it, a really, really positive energy for you guys. And amongst many things, this can also lead to a powerful, intense, and deep emotional stabilization, equilibrium, even rediscovery, and ultimately, all of this is healing. And this is really important because, when a Libra native is fueled by positive emotions, optimism, hope, and the natural instinct of Libra natives, they seek beauty in absolutely everything that they do, everywhere they go, every activity they're immersed into. And when they're allowed by, let's say, karmic forces to be in their most natural state, well, that equals positivity, successful outcomes of certain events, really, really inspired, diligent, wise, but at the same time adventurous choices. This is where they can embody their cardinal energy, so initiation, reaching out, contacting other people, inspiring them, creating really positive, functional alliances, friendships, so they can be a force of inspiration in the world out there, and really, really good supports, partners, or diplomats, initiators, groundbreakers, so to speak. So regardless of what happens to, basically every individual Libra native out there, the energy that basically almost everyone is going to have in common is like an inspired artistic state. So if any Libra native out there has any kind of artistic talent, well, that is going to skyrocket. Even if it's not like a job or part of your livelihood, even if it's just a hobby or an interest of yours, this year in 2022, it can turn into something totally different. And at the end of the day, it's not necessarily the material satisfaction that counts, even though for some people that will go hand in hand. But what counts mostly is self-expression and the satisfaction that offers, especially whatever your artistic talent, skills produce, those are going to please you, the Libra native, most of all, when you can actually see a lot of beauty, a lot of inspiration, a lot of harmony and meaning, perhaps even spiritual meaning, philosophical meaning, etc., in your own creation or gesture, artistic gesture or creative gesture. Well, that is like a different kind of state of happiness and bliss. that kind of feeds Libra natives to the very, essence of their core. But of course, chances are that the blessings and the more positive, uplifting, the magical events might only take place towards the summer or the very, very, very late spring, because the beginning of the year and the first part of the year is mostly dominated by work. But this is definitely not a bad thing, because, work means different things for each and every Libra natives. Those who are, for example, students, those who are studying something, trying to reach mastery, they will be really, really empowered and they will get a lot of things done. They will feel like a almost insatiable thirst for knowledge and this desire, this instinct, this impulse to be as masterful and as hardworking as they possibly can. So this is a very, very passionate energy. Passion towards what you're learning or what you're doing, what you're creating, even if it's not necessarily related to a job or a career, whatever material preoccupations you have in your life right now. Some Libra natives might be wanting to upgrade their home, others might want to sort out their finances, their debt, their credits, maybe their health or their physical integrity, their well-being from a corporal perspective. And for some Libra natives, this might not really be like long-term diseases and stuff like that. For some, it's like a procedure or something they have been delaying for a lot of time. For example, like going to the physiotherapy or to a cosmetic procedure that is not really vanity in that sense, but they actually need it for one reason or the other. For those natives who are looking for a job, they might actually be in for more than they bargained for, because it's gonna come naturally, but it might not just be a simple job, it might not just be a simple source of income of money, but it might be something that could truly ignite their passion, and they, instead of just a job, they might even embrace an industry or a career. So a lot of Libra natives are gonna be learning, even if they're not really students. Now, for those natives who are freelancers or who work for themselves, have their own company, businesses or projects, this represents a really, really busy period when they really have to put a lot of physical energy into their work. And when I say physical energy, well, most of all, that is time. That is a segment of our lives. But this is where it is almost like instantly rewarding, and that is the reason why they're not going to be tired, they're not going to be grumpy, they're not going to be exhausted, they're not going to be even burned out, because for one reason or the other, the rewards are going to be almost instant. And the rewards, the material rewards, are very much needed, because it will give them the chance to advance with other areas of life that were, stagnating more or less. And for almost every Libra native, it is also very important because of the notoriety. We basically don't live in the same paradigm before. So the way the old system, the old reality, let's say, used to work, including, reputation and certain professional connections and stuff like that, in a certain way that was already demolished. So in the now, things don't exactly work, not even in this area, as they used to in the old order. And when I say old order, so pre-2020, pre-2019. So that's why right now, gaining momentum, impulse in the field of notoriety, professional reputation, or even personal reputation, it can simply be within your local community, neighbors, etc., your street, or whatever that is. It's very, very important, because this will open doors for Libra natives for new future connections. Some Libra natives are gonna find themselves that all of a sudden, maybe even overnight, They might be connected to certain people belonging to a, let's say, foreign country, or co-nationals who are working in a foreign country. So something international which will provide them with a lot of new opportunities, but this perhaps in the last part of the year. And last but not least, for others still, this Eight of Pentacles can represent re-specialization, but in a surprising way. Maybe they're invited to try something out, or coincidentally something sparks up in their interest, and they start either looking it up, researching it, or trying it out, especially if it's like something lucrative, something that they can invest their creativity and energy into, and it will, match. It will be like love at first sight, and they will just find themselves taking part in some kind of course, mastery, or re-specialization, apprenticeship, etc., etc. Now, this Ace of Cups, well, it is a blessing without a shadow of a doubt for everyone, but where the blessings comes from, well, it really depends on your personal situation. This can be a really, really harmonious and happy family life, familiar circumstance, especially if you have a family where you have also children and, an extended familiar circle, something really joyous, positive, a really happy period, especially at the very, very beginning of the summer, may enter your life. For other Libra natives, especially those who are single, this can represent new love, new romance, someone who really, really sparks up their emotional interest, so not just physical and passionate. For those who are in an established bond, this can represent a blessing that simply affects both of them at the same time. One partner shares their blessing, or the blessing comes in two. For those Libra natives who have fallen out with someone, maybe this Ace of Cups represent bridges being rebuilt, or really old karmic connections that were either put on hold or cord cut are gonna be resumed, but in a harmonious way, This is where there is forgiveness, there is understanding, there is mutual apology, and there is a lot of wisdom where both the Libra natives and this karmic partner are gonna decide together that they will move on together, but in a different way, in a real sense, in a sense where both are trying and actually succeeding to keep the relationship harmonious, regardless if this is like a soulmate connection, friendship, or a partnership. Then we have this Ace of Wands reversed, and this might represent a conflict, a confrontation, a very important choice and decision that a Libra native takes, but it's reversed because confrontation needs to take place. This is when the Libra native communicates to their family, their parents, their children, their partners, their friends, where they live, their habitat, their community, their social connections. So basically other people that are already close to the Libra native, that they made this choice, and this choice is the Sun card. To follow their own happiness, that which makes them happy, that which allows them to simply feel alive without being conditioned by the needs and the vulnerabilities of other people. And they will just announce that, look, I'm following my own happiness, whatever makes me happy. I'm really allowing my sun to shine, as in what I believe in, my ideals, my principles, the way I want to live my life, and the way, basically, how I embrace my own identity. That is my choice, my sovereignty, and this is my choice. You can either accept it or bye-bye. And this is a very, very rare moment in a Libra native's life, when there's this very assertive but in a self-sufficient, in a sovereign manner, where they actually protect their own sovereignty. Because, Libra natives are notorious for their diplomacy, for their negotiation skills. They never ever want just their end of the deal to be functional, but they always think for, both of the parties, both of the everyone who sits at the negotiation table. So it is very rare for a Libra native to actually announce that right now I'm just choosing myself, my own happiness, and my life, and this is what matters to me right now the most. And maybe this is why it comes as an Ace of Wands moment, a confrontation, an assertion, or a standing up for one's sovereignty, because it will leave a lot of people in a total state of shock because they would not expect this. But of course, for every Libra native, this Ace of Wands is also an action. So it's not just a communication, this is a choice that was made. So for some Libra natives, this is a big relocation. They are leaving an old lifestyle, a place, a country, a city, a family, a household. For other Libra natives, this is a career or a job. I'm stopping doing what I've done until now because I found something else that appeals to my soul. And this isn't even a material energy, so the money and the financial reward doesn't matter that much. The happiness is what truly matters. So a choice like this, a radical choice, where a Libra native leaves something behind and embraces that which makes them happy. So thank you so much guys for listening. This is what the cards have to say for you. I wish each and every one of you a truly blessed 2022. Hello natives born under the sign of Scorpio, and thank you so much for being here and welcome to your 2022 predictions. Your cards are the Empress, the Magician, the Seven of Cups, and the Four of Wands. This is such a really favorable, also intense combination because a lot is going to be done in the year 2022. And when I say a lot, this is actually the finishing touches, because I do believe that this year, 2022, is almost like the third and final chapter of the last 3 years of your lives, when you changed your life so profoundly that perhaps you wouldn't even recognize, not necessarily the physical things in your life, but your attitude, your worldview, your psychological configuration. It was never this crystal clear, this solid, this stable as it is now. In the past couple of years, especially in 2019, 2020, and 2021, you kind of took the phrase mastery of the self extremely seriously. And it wasn't just you and your initiative. It was almost like everything fated, everything karmic. Basically, the whole universe conspired in your favor to show you a lot of truths. Whenever you asked a question from yourself, for example, or from the universe, one way or another, the answers always came to you. And I'm not just talking about big philosophical questions, but for example, you have a friend and for years you wondered what their true intention is because you just felt something, both good and bad, let's say. And maybe in this past 3 years, that the universe, through the karmic forces and the hand of fate, etc., put you and that person, and this is just an example of course, in such a situation where you saw exactly what you wanted to know. You saw that person reveal themselves to you, their true intent, in the most masterful way. And even though this is an example, I'm very sure that in the past 3 years, every single Scorpio native had such an event in their lives when someone, an old friend for example, an old ally, an old colleague, an old soulmate, even a partner, was revealed for who they actually were, and all important choices were made. Not necessarily cord cutting, but just someone's control over their own attitude. Give everyone what they deserve, what they worked for, and also treat everyone the way kind of their intent treats you, if you know what I mean. But of course, this is just an example of how much has truly changed, transformed, and happened in a fated way in the lives of Scorpio natives. So without a shadow of a doubt, your ruling planet Pluto being in the anaretic degrees, in the anaretic positions of the sign of Capricorn, gave you a lot of power, a lot of manifestation power, because it was a profound psychological empowerment, the singularity that you needed for many breakthroughs. But continuing, as I said, this year is gonna be the finishing touches. So we have the Empress, and this card is a little bit different for female and male Scorpio natives, because for female Scorpio natives, this represents honoring their divine feminine. So this means investing in themselves, but not to be understood in a very brutal financial sense where it's just money. No, it is love, it is pleasure, it is what you deserve, it is what you have been delaying for years, and now finally the time has come for that holiday, for that big wardrobe change, for that house change, whatever it is that basically you need physically for your happiness, that is gonna be completed. While for other female Scorpio natives, it is simply living life freely because you have what it takes, the resources, the time, the energy, the opportunities, and just embracing life and no longer restricting yourself because the world is not a safe and stable place. This is where you really detach from that and just live your story. For male Scorpio natives, this is a little bit different because this represents a profound and powerful sexual or sensual or emotional healing, regeneration, and rebirth. But when I say emotional, it is those emotions which are linked to our five senses, so it's pretty earthly energy, to be honest with you, but it is absolutely fantastic. Because whatever this means for them, for example, those who are single will find a really, really compatible partner who can honor them, who can please them, who can allow them to be themselves emotionally or sexually or in any way that is Venusian, so to speak, because that's the Empress, the energy of Venus. For other male Scorpio natives, who maybe those who are already married in an established bond, this represents a powerful rekindling of the old spark, of the old flame. Something happens in their lives which gives them this freedom or the necessary time or the necessary inner energy. While for other male Scorpio natives, this represents physical integrity healing. So taking self-care seriously, and when I say self-care, it's not just the material parts, but also spiritual, emotional, psychological, and all of that. And that in itself, the healthy vibe, if that makes sense, will lead to the Empress moment where they can finally enjoy this, enjoy everything that the five senses have to offer. And that is very, very relevant, and it matters a lot because it is that lived experience which fills a deep void in their souls and their hearts. Basically, that is the essence of happiness that they need to drink and taste profoundly right now. This is almost like a karmic completion, but one which isn't really linear or material or very, very logical. It is the emotion, that the promised emotion that has to complete itself and turn into an inner truth, that which becomes immortal, because what they are going to experience, they're never ever gonna forget. Naturally, the Empress can also be financial energy, so regardless if you're female or male, if your happiness is conditioned by material resources, money, or a prosperous career, or anything where it has to do with material income. Well, you can imagine that that is where the universe is going to guide you, and quite quickly. But that also makes sense, especially astrologically, because on one hand, Jupiter in Pisces, fellow water sign, well, that is a blessing for every water sign, including you. Then on the other hand, as the North Node enters Taurus, so 29 degrees of Taurus and then 28, 27 and so on, it will trine your ruling planet Pluto in fellow Earth sign Capricorn. So one way or another, either that is money, material advancement, healing, or life change completed, and now you have to work with it, enjoy it, live it, do whatever you want with it. Now next we have the Magician, which is also really important energy, because for every Scorpio native, it means management. It means being in control of your life and steering certain areas of life towards a planned direction. So not really living life chaotically and not really going with the flow, but rather you directing the flow there where it is needed the most. And this doesn't just affect you personally, but this affects every important person in your life. Because what does the Magician do? They share their wisdom, their power, their blessings, their magic, and their methodology with everyone who is important for them. So for every Scorpio native, this means helping those people who are very, very important in your lives. So this is where you're not just gonna use your power for your own interest, but you're gonna share it. And maybe sharing it is not necessarily an act of compassion, but rather wisdom, rather knowing how karma works. So it is almost like investing into yourself, but where the self isn't your being, but it is beings who are linked to yours. For some Scorpio natives, this Magician is actually something quite practical. This means business solutions, investment plans, epiphanies, ideas, brainstorming of where you want to direct certain businesses next. So a lot of, Scorpio natives will be preoccupied by cryptocurrency or anything that has to do with financial speculations, where to invest just a little bit of money, allow it to grow, allow it to evolve, and then harvest it, and then reinvest it. So this Magician is really a positive card for everyone, because it means directing life, business, the flow of life, through your mental power, intelligence, and wisdom. Everything that basically Scorpio natives are so good at. And with this Seven of Cups, this means preferences, choices, but these are not life impacting. This is where you finally get to the position where you can complete a dream of yours, and you just have to choose how. You have to choose the shape, the color, the timing, in which form it arrives in your life. So this is a really, really positive card, especially that some Scorpio natives have a lot of Seven of Cups moments pending from the distant past, from maybe childhood, adolescence, or certain important moments in their lives which didn't go exactly as they wanted it, and now they just relive it, reenact it. For example, this is just an absurd example. Your marriage, the day of the wedding didn't go as you planned it or as you wanted it. No problem. The way you can change that memory is do it again, but in the way that it would please you the most. And finally, the Four of Wands. This is also really positive because it means that the year 2022 is going to be a big celebration and a year to be remembered in the lives of Scorpio natives, because something very, very big is going to be completed in their lives, something pending from not even the distant past, maybe all their lives, and now finally it happens. But when it happens, it's due to their work Of course, maybe it's also fated energy where you co-worked with the universe, but at the end of the day, it's your will manifesting. So for some natives, this Four of Wands can be exactly as I said, a wedding, a marriage. For others, it can be buying their own house. For others, buying the house of their dreams, even if they have a house. For others, those who are single, it can not just represent a relationship, but a long-term committed and happy and appealing relationship. But it can also be where a celebration within the year, so let's say either Easter or birthday or Christmas or an anniversary or I don't know, Valentine's Day or something that you usually celebrate, it's gonna be like really, really memorable this year because something really big or beautiful or very, very happy happens. So it's really good news for Scorpio natives, even though this energy is not very easy from a spiritual and emotional perspective, exactly because the power is going to be in your hands. So there is going to be that side of yours where you know that you have to choose carefully and that you have to take responsibility for every time you exercit your power, regardless of what kind of power we are talking about. So this will pose a certain kind of challenge, but at the end of the day, I do believe that this is the good kind of challenge. So thank you so much for listening. I hope that this reading inspired you and wishing you a blessed 2022. Hello natives born under the sign of Sagittarius, and welcome to your predictions for the year 2022. Your cards are the Temperance, the Nine of Swords reversed, the Chariot, and the Two of Cups. Now this can be a potentially life-changing year for you guys, and this is also supported in a way by astrology, because what happens very, very early on in the year, the South Node, the karma of the past, the great excess that we have both as a species and individually, finally leaves your sign and enters the sign of Scorpio. And this can represent a massive energetic karmic relief, which ultimately transforms into profound healing and alchemical work. And the Temperance card is the symbol of your sign, of the sign of Sagittarius in tarot. So this is already very, very relevant. And the reason why exactly the Temperance card is linked to Sagittarius, and one of the main symbols of this card is healing, regeneration, equilibrium. Well, it is because if you look at the glyph of your sign, the arrow, that represents a centaur's arrow, and centaurs were mythological beings who managed to conquer, to master, to discipline their animal sides, because ultimately a centaur is half human and half horse. And despite their conditioning, half animal, they became beings of pure wisdom, and even in war, they mastered the bow and arrow. So that takes a lot of dexterity, a lot of precision, and ultimately faith. One of the most notorious centaurs in mythology was Chiron, the greatest healer of his times. So even though usually the sign of Sagittarius doesn't necessarily in an astrological way symbolize directly healing, yet the profound wisdom, the faith, the alchemical power, and the belief it takes for anyone or anything to regenerate, well, that is how the power, symbolism, and expression of Sagittarius can actually lead to healing. And if we look at the North Node retrograding out of your sign and into Scorpio, well, the arrow of Sagittarius in the sky, in the stars, is aimed at the heart of Scorpio, exactly for the reason because through wisdom it needs to keep the toxicity, the animal, the urge, the primordial, the primitive forces at bay. And Scorpio in itself is the sign of healing, of transformation, of alchemy, and any kind of healing is also an alchemical act when a state of disharmony re-enters a state of equilibrium and harmony. As above, so below, again, the symbolism of Sagittarius. So, I'm so sorry for this philosophical break, this side note, but I do believe that this expression of the energy or way to understand the energy is so very linked to the year 2022 for you guys, because through the transit of the South Node in your sign, you experience so very many lessons, really hard life lessons. And also 2 eclipses in your sign. Your faith, your outlook on life was shattered and you were forced to readapt, to reinvent, to upgrade, or to find something else to take the place of the void. And that wasn't easy because, at least from a mental perspective, it caused you so much uncertainty, fear, panic, anxiety. Certain people abandoned you, certain people betrayed you, certain people just walked away exactly when you were down instead of helping you the way you helped them in the past. Because let's not get things wrong, Sagittarius natives are very popular people to everyone have in their lives because they're really good advice givers. And when a Sagittarius native is optimistic, well, that kind of optimism is very contagious, even if it kind of contradicts logic or ration, because, you know, sometimes in life we don't have any reason logically to be optimistic, but the words of a Sagittarius native are just contagious and infectious, and they make us believe in hope, in a positive outcome, even when maybe outer reality doesn't point to that direction. So this is why Sagittarius natives are big blessings in the lives of everyone, but many times, unfortunately, they're not treated the same way. And this has caused them to have so very many soul wounds, heart wounds, even mental wounds that they have gathered through their lives, and finally it is time to release. The South Node transiting their signs in 2021 was like a permanent salt and wound. They were reminded of all their hurts, all their bad memories, all moments when someone betrayed them or broke their heart, etc. And this might have led to a certain kind of spiritual depression, a spiritual stagnation, and for some people even like proper anxiety, panic attacks, fear moments, sleeplessness, restlessness. And now when the node is finally exiting from their part of the sky, peace, regeneration, equilibrium, harmony, and their natural Sagittarian kind of faith is returning. Also because their ruling planet Jupiter is entering its ancient ruling sign of Pisces, its nighttime expression. Sagittarius is daytime expression. So when Jupiter is in your sign, it's always, in spotlight. It is illuminated by the sun. When it is in the sign of Pisces, it is much more discreet. It's illuminated by the moon, ultimately. But that is actually a positive thing, because exactly when Jupiter is discreet, it can be the most miraculous of its expression. So this year is when the depression, the heartache, the anxiety, the mental weakness, the confusion, and the heartache, and all the emotional ups and downs, and basically feeling lost in your faith. And when I say feeling lost in your faith, maybe you just don't exactly know how to crystallize what you believe in your mind so that it resonates with the truth and it makes sense to you. And all of that is happening. It is a year of healing. It is a healing of regeneration. It is a really powerful alchemic year when you will transmute all that has burdened you in the past 3 years. You transform it into virtues, into strength, into resources. And there is going to be a moment in 2022 when most Sagittarius natives have to confront their biggest fears. But understand this in a rather practical manner. For example, maybe a Sagittarius native has a medical condition which is not life-threatening, but it needs to be taken care of when the time comes. So maybe if you need an operation and you feared it and you delayed it, 2022 is the moment when it is executed. A native who fears like leaving their job and embracing something else, that is the probability of what is going to happen. So you know in yourself what is very uncomfortable, you fear it, you don't want it, but you know that it will happen, it is a certainty. But after it happens, it's like a massive, massive relief. This is so very different for every single individual. For some people, it's, as I said, big and impactful as an operation, and why someone fears that, like, that's very, very obvious. But for other people, it can be very minor, yet the fear part is the big thing. Like telling their parent, I don't know, that they want to move away, or they don't want to follow their studies anymore. It's not a big deal, but the fear can be colossal. Or someone coming out with their sexuality to their friends or parents or whatever. It's something not a big deal, And chances are, of course, it's gonna go well, but the fear is the enemy here. So that's why something like this is gonna happen this year to Sagittarius natives, and it will feel like a massive relief. And what happens after is the Chariot and the Two of Cups, which is absolutely wonderful. So the Chariot is triumph, victory, finally getting there, finally being on your journey and being comfortable and happy and feeling faithful, excited, everything as it should be. Whatever this means individually. For some natives, this Chariot goes to career. For others, it's healing. For others, it is simply their hobbies, finances, or life path. For others, it's their spiritual journeys. For others, it's relationship, fixing a marriage, getting married, losing the single status for good. For others, it's even the Nine of Swords, being divorced. Saying the divorce, saying that I want to get divorced, and that's it. A new life comes after. And what matters here, it is the comfort. It is the feeling that finally, after so many years, life is livable, life makes sense even when it doesn't. And perhaps that is the cherry on top. When life is good and it makes sense and you want to live it even when it shouldn't be like that. For example, the world outside is collapsing, there's hurricanes, protests, illnesses, plagues and stuff like that, but your life is still fantastic and you're living it. So this is what Sagittarius natives are slowly but surely stepping into. But before we get to the Chariot moment, as I said, there is that karmic entanglement, so to speak, when you necessarily either have to confront that fear, do that gesture, action, that choice or whatever that may be, or speak your truth, or express yourself, or reveal yourself, something that you kind of fear or you delayed, that Nine of Swords moment, and after then the Chariot is starting, the Chariot is catapulted onto its destination. And of course it's the journey that matters. But when the journey is so pleasant, when the journey is so Sagittarian, well, you don't even want to get to the destination, you want to just enjoy it as much as you can. And finally, this Two of Cups. Now, this is different for different people, because those Sagittarius natives who are already in an established bond, well, this Two of Cups means that the Chariot has two horses, so it means the blessings are both for you and your partner. So when life is working, life is okay, life is more than livable, it's for both of you. You go on this adventure together as a pair. For those Sagittarius natives who are single, well, ultimately this Chariot coincides also with the Two of Cups. So wherever that Chariot is taking you guys towards, even if it's strictly like material or lucrative job, career, you will find someone very special along the journey. And for those Sagittarius natives who recently separated or divorced or something like that, maybe this is rebuilding of the bridges and finally making very important steps together as a family. For chances are, whatever caused your marriage or relationship not to work was purged out already, especially the South Node transit in your sign. And last but not least, this can also represent something really surprising when there is a Sagittarius native who divorced and who received help from a person to get over it, of course, get over the heartache, or maybe they got some good advice, emotional support, or guidance, or whatever. And now when they're over the heartache of the divorce or separation, suddenly, unexpectedly, surprisingly, the universe, one way or another, crosses their path with that person who supported them, and they form a couple. But if this is the case, that relationship is going to be so unusual and so almost like out of this world. But anyway, in conclusion, this is going to be a very dynamic year, and the most important thing is the suffering is over and life is adventurous, livable, and Sagittarian once again, and that contributes to the bliss. That is when you will finally feel after years that you have your mojo back. So thank you so much for listening. I wish each and every one of you a blessed and miraculous 2022. Hello natives born under the sign of Capricorn, and welcome to your 2022 predictions. Your cards are the Three of Pentacles, Three of Wands, Nine of Pentacles, and the King of Pentacles. Well, to be totally honest with you guys, this is a lot of Pentacle energy, but I'm not surprised at all because the astrology of 2022 does speak about a major material empowerment for you guys, because you have Pluto at 26-27 degrees of Capricorn, so in your sign, and after the 19th of January 2022, the North Node leaves Gemini, enters Taurus, where it will very soon hold a supremely harmonious celestial conversation with Pluto in your sign. So that is a big good news for you in so very many ways. It can be material blessing, it can be a massive financial career or life path breakthrough, whatever you're interested in. It can be a huge material gain based on something that you might have done in the past, a work, or even something totally charitable. It can come from a family member. It can be an inheritance. But of course, when I say inheritance, it's a trine, so it's not the doomy, gloomy one. It's where it's a pleasant surprise, where it comes unexpectedly as a blessing, not necessarily the lost part. But at the same time, North Node in Taurus means simplicity. So getting rid of clutters in your lives in any way, shape, or form. So this is a really, really good year for you guys on so very many levels. Even though maybe the very beginning of the year might be a little bit uncomfortable because you still have Mercury hanging around that Pluto of yours in that sign. Then you also have Venus hanging around there and the Sun, so that's a lot of energy. And this is reflected by the Three of Pentacles, which of course is also a Capricornian tarot card. It represents work, learning, mastery, Mars in the sign of Capricorn and exaltation. And that's also coming very, very soon. As Mars makes its transit through Sagittarius, it will ultimately enter into your sign and activate a lot of very important astrological points. But Mars is action, Mars is sacrifice, Mars is work. So this kind of means being focused on your career, on your learning, on your professional advancement, on your masteries, having the highest standards, working almost flawlessly, like the perfectionism that is so specific to Virgo natives, fellow earth signs. So of course you have a little bit of Virgo in you as well. But all of these, even though they do require effort, time, and a lot of energy, they're so very worth it. Some Capricorn natives are gonna have a very, very quick professional ascent. Other Capricorn natives might be surprised because either a company or another person or someone who is linked to their work or livelihood is gonna invest into them. And when I say this, maybe they will sponsor a course, a study, or an equipment, or get them some tools that they necessarily need, or upgrade their tools as a reward, as a sign of trust and also appreciation. So this is a really, really good energy. And what follows is the Three of Wands, which is equally as important, because just look at how these energies tie up. Mars is the ruling planet of Aries, Three of Wands is Aries. But before it gets into Aries, it does a lot of work in Capricorn. So what does work do? Well, ultimately gather resources, gather information, perfect the plan, get different outlooks, perspective. Everyone who you're going to work with is also going to communicate something to you, and there might be hints, suggestions, or synchronicities, moments of brainstorming, epiphanies. So in the first 3 months you're going to work a lot, but your work is going to be very, very fruitful, bearing fruits. And then with the Three of Wands energy, maybe after Aries season, so the end of April perhaps, or it could also be later on when Mars enters Aries. It doesn't matter as much because it represents new opportunities. So some Capricorn natives, if they are guided, if they want, they can travel a lot. Other Capricorn natives are going to initiate certain projects, businesses. If you guys have been working on gathering experiences, resources, money, allies, associates in the last 3 years of your lives to do something important for you or to try out a business, a project, etc. This year is definitely going to be permissive of that. And, Nine of Pentacles, success, independence, material well-being, pride. And basically, Nine of Pentacles is very important because it also means minding your own business, living your reality, living your life, and not necessarily getting involved into situations, places, people, anything which is really, really not your life, not your cup of tea, to be honest. And this is really, really good because this was a massive karmic lesson for you guys, not to get involved where it's not necessary. And this in the best sense, but also in the worst sense. So the road to hell is paved with good intentions. When you're hell-bent on helping someone, make sure that you help in such a way where you don't do the work for them, because that will transform that person into someone lazy or someone who will infinitely expect help. But also in the worst sense, where Capricorn natives are kind of assertive people. They do speak the truth very quickly. They have a very strong take no BS attitude. But when they use that as an initiation, It always gets them into trouble, into conflicts, into misunderstandings, to hurt feelings, etc. So better just mind your business. If you can tolerate something, so not necessarily take attitude and assert yourself because it bothers you or that person is wrong. If the confrontation is not necessary, then just live your reality and your happiness and let them be. And this was a very, very hard lesson to learn. But ultimately, both these lessons, the professional mastery, the know-how, the willpower that they mastered and their down-to-earth attitude is gonna make this year, 2022, which has the numerological energy of 6, which is also a very strong energy for Capricorn, because Capricorn is ultimately spirit manifested in matter, which is growing and evolving. That is basically 6, and that's Capricorn natives, or that is anything in the sky, in the earth, in reality that is ruled by the symbol of Capricorn. So it is ultimately prosperous, fortunate, and lucky for them, and it's not hard work, exactly because they're so good at it. It is very easy for Capricorn natives to be self-sufficient, self-disciplined, to stay in control, and their work ethic is one of the best in all of the zodiac. And going back to the 3 of Wands and the 9 of Pentacles, for a lot of natives this can mean travel, but the kind of travel where it is just for them personally, for them to see the world, for them to have deeply spiritual or touristic or cultural, whatever experiences. So it's pleasurable. The 9 of Coins is when you've worked a lot, you've harvested the fruits of your labor, and now you're enjoying it. You're living up to your own dignity. And finally, the King of Pentacles, stability, groundedness, maturity, reliability. This is where 2022 is going to be a very important year for Capricorn natives to turn into a King of Pentacles, which means long-term future stability. And the King of Pentacles can do so very many things. The King of Pentacles is self-sufficient. The King of Pentacles is a good manager, a good leader. The King of Pentacles is the king who is likely to have a business or be a world-renowned professional. The King of Pentacles can help anyone, either materially, straightforward material because they have investments and money and savings, but they can also help another person with their skill, know-how, or becoming a teacher. So basically, becoming a King of Pentacles is a big, big deal for every Capricorn native's life path. So that is what's gonna happen. And even though this reading says all coins, so exclusively material energy, we can imagine that it's not gonna be money or material wealth for every single Capricorn natives. For every native, individually and personally, it is gonna be exactly what makes them powerful, what gives them power. So for some, it is actually emotional maturity. For others, it's money. For others, it's being a leader, a manager, a director, or whatever. The social power. For others, it is knowledge. For others, it is spiritual power. For others still, it can simply be freedom. So this promises to be quite a good year for you guys. So thank you so much for listening and wish you a blessed and prosperous 2022. Hello natives born under the sign of Aquarius, and welcome to your predictions for the year 2022. Your cards are 7 of Earth, which is the 7 of Coins, 8 of Earth, which is the 8 of Coins, 3 of Air reversed, which is the 3 of Swords reversed, and the Ace of Air, which is the Ace of Swords. Now, first of all, the 7 of Earth, the 7 of Pentacles, does represent that a very, very important work is basically still under construction, still at it, still ongoing. And this comes as no surprise because ultimately Saturn, the governing planet of work and sacrifice and building stuff, is in your sign and is gonna stay there all throughout 2022. And of course, it was in your sign even in 2021. So these are not very easy couple of years where, yes, a lot of thing is gonna find completion, resolution. You will have the chance to finish even like projects or personal goals that have been pending for even tens of years. It is naturally also very, very karmic period when old issues need to be resolved, regardless if they are with family, with parents, with children if you're a parent, with relatives, cousins, siblings, etc. Certain things from the past, because Saturn is in your sign, need to be closed, need to be resolved, or certain karmic debts need to be repaid. And this goes both ways. Even when you're the giver or when you're the beneficiary, karmic payment, karmic debts need to be resolved. And this theme continues all throughout 2022. So that's why it says a big work in progress. Because usually it takes 3 years when Saturn is in someone's sign for that karmic energy to get into order, because that is what Saturn basically produces. That's the effect of Saturn. Reaching stability, reaching order, reaching a state of balance that works. That's why Saturn is always linked to payment or the sacrifice, time, blood, sweat and tears that need to be invested. And as I said, both ways. So basically the conclusion is that 2022 is gonna be also a really, really karmic year, just like 2021. Of course, with a slightly different theme, because in 2022 it was the year of big, big karmic truths. For example, someone hurt you deeply, someone very important like a husband, a brother, sister, a parent, best friend, soulmate, etc., etc. And that wound was always there, it festered. And in 2021, one way or another, you saw the truth of who was right and wrong, or maybe that person apologized, or maybe that person reconnected to you, and you saw, as looking at their lives, that they were ultimately wrong and they paid a heavy price for upsetting you or for betraying you, for everything like this. And of course, this is reciprocal, because if you were the karmic aggressor, you were put into a position where you had to absolve that which you done wrong. And this work continues, just that in 2022, it is the time to construct. This is not as much about terminations and endings, finding closure, and giving the karmic payment, so to speak. This is more like constructing, reconstructing, or resuming construction of everything that was left behind. For example, those Aquarius natives who started a career and it was a karmic career, it was their calling, and for any reasons they stagnated. Maybe they haven't abandoned it, they just couldn't advance professionally because of the situation. This year, that will return in their lives and they will finally make those advancements that was karmically basically destined for them. So a lot of Aquarius natives are gonna rise in specialization, for example. And I'm so sorry to use this personal example, and I know my cousin is gonna hate me. She's an Aquarius and she's a dentist. So in her situation, I would imagine, where she kind of has this opportunity to finish a surgeon, a dental surgeon, or I don't know the terminology course, and that would finish, or better said, upgrade her karmic life path calling. But of course, this is just an example. For certain natives, of course, it's not career. It can be their spiritual path. It can be anything that is meant for them to have or experience or to do or to live in this lifetime. And this is so very suggestive and symbolic in this reading because look, 7 of Earth to 8 of Earth. So that is an evolution. That's like climbing a step. From 7 we get to the energy of 8. 7 is more like the realization, the truth coming out in a very chaotic way. And 8 is when we use that truth and we already integrated it, we're building it, and we're already masters. We don't operate from the level of an apprentice. Just take a look at the image, the 7 of Earth. It is a charity worker, basically. Someone who does a work out of sheer initiative. But the 8 of Earth is already mastery. It is when someone shows the other person the way. When someone instructs another person. So that means that they're already mastering something. For example, for those Aquarius natives who work within like an organization, maybe a new role is going to be created where there are like trainers, teachers, or way showers, the experienced colleague who shows the new ones around, the HR department, communication, simply representing the company. For others, it can be any kind of teaching job where they master something that they have done for a good couple of years so intensely that they can become teachers now, they can hold a course, or they can simply climb up the ladder professionally to the next available and possible octave. For those who have a business of their own, a project, or are freelancers, this is even better news because they might receive some kind of support or help or funding from the government, from here in my country, like the European Union, for example, from an external authority, so to speak. They might also have the chance to sign certain contracts, agreements, or deals where they provide a service for their local community, but they get a lot of funding for this. So that means really, really prosperous, but also inspired work. For those Aquarius natives who are parents and have younger children, this will be a very, very important year because they will need to be there very, very actively for their child. Because maybe the child in their studies is going to be involved in project or some kind of extracurricular activity or any kind of like role play or, things that children do in school. And the child of the Aquarian parent is going to do something really, really special, really unique. The child will shine. And that will make the Aquarian parents so very happy and proud. So for Aquarian natives who are parents, this is going to be a really, really good year, sweet as honey, because it's exactly the child who brings the most happiness into the family and the house. Now, of course, speaking about karma, this is where we also have the 3 of Air reversed. That can represent a moment of heartache, someone betraying your trust, someone provoking you, someone making you extremely angry, or someone like really, really stirring up the poo, so to speak, especially socially, like gossip, betrayal, foul play amongst good friends. But this is nothing new. So don't look at this as a random event that just happens. This is ongoing. There is either a person or a group of people or someone specific who you're in not very good relations with. It's almost like friends and enemies at the same time, cat and mouse, because you had some kind of connection with that person and didn't go very well, like your ex-partner, like your ex-husband, like someone who needs to be part of your life, like it or not, but sometimes your friends, sometimes your enemies. And something very important happens this year when the both of you can finally reach an agreement, a truce, a ceasefire, if that makes sense. There's gonna be a very powerful either conversation, discussion, a meeting, or your paths cross maybe on a holiday, or you do something together. Of course, not because you necessarily want it, because that is how the circumstances are gonna play out, but you're gonna reach like an agreement, a settlement, something that keeps the peace between the two of you. So whatever this heartache, this anger, this sorrow is, it's gonna find resolution. And because this is karmic, this goes for a longer time. So you need this to happen between the two of you for a greater peace, if that makes sense. Of course, not for everyone it's like an ex-partner. For some, maybe that person who stole your job opportunity, who was your friend. So, someone who really impacted your life, both positively once, but they also betrayed you, if that makes sense. And finally, the Ace of Air. Being in your airy element, being free, the symbolism of the butterfly. When work goes very, very well, when you have a lot of social connections in your life, when members of your family are bringing happiness to you, well, you can imagine that you are gonna feel like on the top of the world. Of course, this is not very linear. Don't expect this well-being to be a permanent state all throughout the year. This will be up and down, but the big picture is definitely the Eight of Earth. So a lot of progress, a lot of empowerment, mastery. For some Aquarius natives, teaching jobs, teacher jobs, mentor jobs, trainer jobs. For others, the next step to their professional advancement. So all of this is going to provide you with freedom, basically. And with mental and intellectual power, where the future suddenly looks very, very bright, because there are going to be a lot of opportunities and freedom available. So this is what the cards have to say to you. Thank you so much for being here and listening, and wish you a blessed 2022. Hello natives born under the sign of Pisces, and welcome to your predictions for the year 2022. Your cards are the Knight of Cups, the Queen of Cups, the Star, and the Lovers. Well, this is without a shadow of a doubt a really fantastic combination, but maybe it's not as surprising, because one of the biggest astrological events that happened especially for you guys is that Jupiter enters into your sign, and there it meets Neptune in a very, very powerful conjunction, which in itself is incredibly rare. It is true that Jupiter meets Neptune once every 12 years in some kind of astrological circumstance, so to speak, but it is pretty rare for these two planets to meet in their home signs of Pisces. Now that doesn't happen very often. That doesn't happen in the life of every generation. So those people who are alive now today, or are better said, are going to be alive in April 2022, are very, very fortunate to catch this energy, even though collectively speaking it's not all magic and butterflies and miracles. It also is very, very destructive, but that is a totally different theme. This is your personal reading, so none of that has anything to do with it. But where I'm going with this is, Jupiter is the planet of good fortune. Jupiter is the co-ruler of your sign. Jupiter in your sign can take on its most mystical, miraculous, divine expression, the planet of good fortune. So of course you guys might be the primary beneficiaries of this energy, or those other natives who have their ascendant in your sign. So this year, 2022, is going to be very, very emotional, profoundly emotional, but it is also you finally, after so very many years, because Neptune was in your sign for a long time, and that is not, even though it's your ruling planet, it's not an easy energy, that's for sure. And last year, or was it in 2019, something around that, Black Moon Lilith was also in your sign, and that coincided with the pandemic and the sickness and all of that. That was karmically also very heavy for you. Maybe some Pisces natives under that energy, so the end of 2019 and beginning of 2022 maybe had a big medical problem, medical emergency, an misfortunate event, something unfavorable impacting their lives. Of course, they got over it and it made them stronger, and it was a very powerful karmic release. So the good event turned into something fortunate, but it was hard, especially emotionally speaking. So this year is when you guys really enter your element. So Pisces, water, mutable water, adaptable, it has no shape and form, nothing can control it, only merely contain it, but it can also evaporate. The dreaminess, the artistic expression, the humor, the irony, because at the end of the day, people think that maybe it's Gemini. That's the most cynical and ironical sign out there, but it's actually Pisces, because, Pisces throws the bitter pill, but it wraps it up so it's invisible to you, and maybe you go home and you go to sleep, and next morning you wake up, and all of a sudden it clicks what the Pisces native said to you, and you understand the hidden irony, and then is the moment when it sinks in. So Pisces natives are actually very, very good at humor, irony, the cynical part of life, highlighting the contrasts. So they are very, very playful in their own right. So what does this mean? Well, it means that this is how the year 2022 is gonna be like. A lot of very random, almost coincidental events connecting you with certain people, certain acquaintances, certain situations, and they're gonna be so very funny, they're gonna be so very humorous, and even when it's an inconvenience or something not as fortunate, the humor and what it generates is gonna feel like pure magic. So this already promises that life in 2022 is not gonna be boring, neither is it gonna be the average struggle. It's gonna be very adventurous, funny, exciting, and you're gonna see perhaps the most humorous and light-hearted side of the divine, where it's actually almost like it's having fun along with you or through you, and it is gonna feel so very magical that maybe the material elements in life and whatever is linearly, logically happening in life, you won't even be immersed into it. You will, I don't even know how to explain this. It will almost feel like 2022 is gonna be like a permanent high, almost like a dream, almost like a little bit surreal, almost like too good to be true, but it's actually good. Now, naturally, there is a lot of karma in Pisces natives' lives as well, but this isn't like a karmic obligation or duty. It's almost like a karmic invitation from the universe. Well, you're blessed, obviously, with Jupiter in your sign this year, so please share your blessings with everyone who truly matters to you. And this is the symbolism of the Knight of Cups. Pisces natives are gonna be the knight or the princess in shining armor for a lot of people. They are definitely gonna be agents of compassion. They're gonna be agents who will inspire and uplift people's moods, and it will be very, very needed this year, externally speaking. They're also going to be people who will connect other people to find each other, so they will catalyze certain friendships and even relationships to be formed. It's almost like in the year 2022, Pisces natives are like working for a matrimonial agency directed by the universe, where they will just try to connect their acquaintances and friends with one another, and a lot of People who are Pisces natives, circle of friends, are going to actually form couples with one another. And Pisces natives are the catalysts, are the messengers. But of course, the Queen of Cups represents powerful emotional healing. And this benefits both Pisces natives and other people. Because when Pisces is in bliss, when Pisces was rewarded by the universe, when Pisces had a big moment of good fortune, they share it. It's almost like it's within their instinct to immediately share it. So from this perspective, I would rather say that the close friends or relatives of Pisces natives are really gonna be favored and fortunate. But you know what's coming? The star card that's even more beautiful, because that means the future. That means hope. That means determination, and not alone. This is where Pisces natives are they going to form smaller communities, alliances, be part of guilds or tribes, so to speak. And because they share certain ideals, they share certain principles, aspiration with a lot of other people, or with a few other people, it doesn't really matter. It's gonna really make them strong and hopeful, and they will complete a lot of very important projects for the future. This is where the future is actually gonna be already set in 2022. The future is not just an aspiration. The future is not just a project, a plan, a schematic. In 2022, it already begins. The first really important steps are gonna begin. And this depends on Pisces native, whatever it is that they need in their lives. Those who are like professionals, managers, project-based work, have their own business, those who work on something, regardless of what, it's a big project coming together and with the financial rewards attached to it. For those Pisces natives for whom spirituality is more important, well, obviously a big blessing or something miraculous in that sense. So everyone gets something done, something really important for their future. And most of all, the cherry on top, well, obviously those Pisces natives who are already in an established bond, this is really, really beautiful. Something important happens. For example, couples who don't have a child yet, maybe fertility, maybe childbirth, maybe a house, a home, a big blessing, something that really makes their life as a couple prosperous, blessed, and it just basically gives them this perfect nest for love, whatever that means for them. Single Pisces natives are definitely going to find that very special someone, because this is the Lover's card after all. And that's why the future is so bright, because they won't be single anymore. But even those natives who are really not interested in any of this romance partnership, that lovers can represent a very important person in their lives. A mentor, a teacher, a business partner, a sponsor, for example, or someone who truly set them on the right path, where that right path immediately turns into something concrete. So it's a really, really beautiful and blessed energy. And the most important thing here is that I can't even tell you if this is easy energy or hard energy or complicated, because mostly all of the year 2022 is going to feel so surreal, like a dream, like a high, like a alternate reality where things do work like a charm, but they react to emotion. As long as you feel it, immediately or very, very soon after, it kind of happens. And this is basically Pisces natives being in their position of power. So thank you so much for listening. I wish everyone a blessed and really, really fortunate Jupiter in your sign 2022.